One. Hey, Mortgage Coach members, Dave Savage here, and today I'm interviewing Steve Brown, former futurist with Intel, and becoming a bit of an expert around what's happening in the future of the mortgage industry. How you doing?
Nice to see you, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Good. Yeah, no, thanks for being here. So I am going to put a couple links below. I have interviewed Steve in the past. I think it's the most viewed interview I've done in 2018 so far around the future of mortgage and the digital transition that's taking place. And I did a LinkedIn article. So those are both down below. So Steve, what's new, if anything, since last time we talked as it pertains to, your clarity on where the future is going with mortgages?
Well, I think I've spent a lot more time with mortgage people, all stripes of mortgage people, just making sure I really understand the process. You can tell from my outrageous British accent that I'm not American, but I have lived here for 20 years, and I have done a number of real estate transactions in my time, and they've always been very mysterious to me. And I can tell there's a lot of moving parts behind the scenes, but I hadn't really fully understood them all. So I've been spending my time really digging in to understand how the whole process works. What are the literally hundreds of steps that are involved in the mortgage process in the US, and trying to figure out, well, how is technology going to help make that move forward more quickly so that people can get their mortgages, get funded much more quickly. So it's become clear that some of the technologies that long-term might disrupt the sector, and I'm talking specifically about blockchain as a technology that is going to change all of financial services in the next 20 years. In the shorter to medium term, I think it's a technology that will help the current model to work much more efficiently. So it will help all of the people that are involved in the process, the buyers and sellers agents, the mortgage broker, the underwriter, appraiser, inspector, closing agent, escrow, the registrar. All of these people have to work together, and they shuffle paperwork around like crazy, right? I mean, it's just madness. Having one common set of documents that are stored in a blockchain that allow everybody to very easily come to consensus and make the changes that they need without having to sign everything and fax it all around like crazy, or use any of the sort of electronic document signing stuff that's going on today, could make things a lot more efficient. So I think that those are the sorts of things that I've been digging into lately to start to model, at least in my head, where are things going in the short to medium term.
Yeah, well, a lot and nothing has changed since we talked before. I mean, there's the topic of the digital mortgage, I think, is hitting our industry hard right now, especially the referral-based local lender and loan officer, because we're having unprecedented pricing compression. Inventory is low, so everybody's competing more fierce for the loans. And then the announcement that Amazon is getting smart around mortgages, I think, is creating some fear. What are your thoughts on just that Amazon effect? And I don't know if you have any gut feeling as to, is Amazon coming into the mortgage space based on the news that you've heard, or are they just getting smart on it?
Yeah, be afraid. So I used to work a lot in the retail sector, looking at the future of retail. And so I spent a lot of time examining Amazon as a beast. And full disclosure, I'm a shareholder in Amazon because I am long on that company. I believe in the leadership, and I believe in the model they have. If you think about what is it that Amazon actually does, I mean, they've got their fingers in lots of different pies, but fundamentally they are there to remove friction from commercial transactions, to make it easier to buy stuff. That's what they do. And they've done that with a great website. They then brought in things like one-click purchase, which, by the way, they've patented. The ability to have the dash buttons in your home, so you can press a button on your washing machine and order more Tide powder. The ability to talk and just voice what you need in the moment to Alexa. All of these things are technologies that Amazon has explicitly developed to remove friction from the buying process. They're in the business, that's their business. So all of these different businesses that they have that maybe seem disparate, it's all about making it as easy as possible to buy. Even the Amazon service that brings stuff to your door in 2 hours or less, available in certain parts of the country, that is about removing friction from the buying process. Right? All the distribution centers that they have, The fact that they can deliver product to you in a day or two means that you're more likely to buy from them, removing friction from the process. So you apply that forwards, there is an awful lot of friction in the current mortgage buying process. It is an obvious target for someone like Amazon that does that kind of stuff so well. Now, it's a very complex business. It's a regulated business. It's not something they can just barge into overnight, but it's very obviously a target for them. Now, on the good news side of things, when Amazon moves into a market, they tend to partner with people first and then move into that market. So you're already seeing Amazon saying, oh, looking at banking with JP Morgan. They may want to partner with some mortgage organizations, and they may initially start to just make it easier to do mortgages and provide tools to the industry to do that. If you think about some of the moves that Amazon's made in the past, right? They have Amazon fulfillment services. They have Amazon cloud services, right? All of these things they make available to everybody to use. So the reason that Amazon does this is very smart. It's a good business strategy. What they're doing is they're looking at a capability that they need to run their core business and then making it open and available to others. So think about, you need all of that cloud storage to run the website. You've got to build a cloud data center. You might as well make that available to other people so that you can get scale and reduce your costs and defray costs to deliver the service, core service that you do. So Amazon may end up doing something like that in the mortgage space. They're going to do it in delivery next. That's their big focus, right? They've been partners with FedEx and UPS and USPS, much to Donald Trump's chagrin, for a while. But they are for sure getting into the delivery business because it's the way of reducing friction from the buying process. So the mortgage sector is clearly a, let's say, medium to long-term target for Amazon. Who knows when they'll make that move? But the same way in the retail industry that everybody is now afraid of Amazon, has been for 5 to 8 years, people in the mortgage sector should be looking over their shoulder.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, and we talked about it before, if you're going to compete against, whether it's an Amazon-esque lender or a technology company as a lender, you need to niche, you need to leverage your local presence, you need to understand that everything that can be automated will be automated. So I interpreted that in your message that, hey, loan officers, you need to use your CRM like never before, get as much data, make as much personal connection you can with people. You need to use the Mortgage Coach total cost analysis to deliver that Amazon-esque, comparison shopping experience. And if you really want to thrive, you need to do those things now more than ever. Is that still how you see it?
If I think about the advice that I used to give and still give to retailers, it's very simple. Figure out what can't Amazon do. What can you do because of your local connection, because of your physical brick and mortar presence that Amazon cannot do, and double down on that. And also, pay attention to what Amazon's strengths are and figure out in what ways can you leverage those same strengths using technology.
Yeah. And so for every referral-based local lender, Amazon's not in our space. So what you do need to think about, though, is the internet lenders. And I'm not going to name them. I think you can all just come to grip with who are you competing with online and what can't they do. They can't meet knee to knee in an office. They don't have the quality of people that you are that can really connect with people in a sincere and curious way. I know I had one question because this came up since last time we talked. You talked about how voice technology is just rapidly, getting better and better. And I can't remember how far off you thought it would be until a family could call call a phone and be having a conversation. You didn't know whether it would be voice or machine, human or machine you're talking to. How far out do you think that kind of technology is?
Probably in the 5-year time frame, not the 15-year time frame. It's hard to tell, but if you look at the task of building a chat bot. There are multiple pieces to that. The ability to hear what you're saying, understand what you're saying, have a conversation with you. They're all separate chunks. All of them are improved over time with AI. And as AI makes vast steps forward in the next 2 years, it's unclear how quickly the breakthroughs will occur in each of those. The quality of the voice that you hear, being able to fake a human voice, I think we will get there in 5 years, maybe less, so that you won't, just by hearing the voice, you won't be able to tell if it's a human or not. The real test will be its ability to converse with you and have a conversation rather than just answer questions. When you think about Alexa and Siri and everything like that today, you say something, usually it's a she voice, she responds, and then you say something again, and she has no memory of what she just said to you. Right? There's no context to continue a conversation. That technology has been worked on. You will quickly figure out that that's not a human if you can break that ability to converse. So that's the thing that I'm not as sure about. That could be 5 to 10 years, maybe more. But certainly in terms of sounding like a human and being able to fake it for fairly simple conversations, I think we'll be there in 5 years.
Yeah, and then I think a lot of you, because you follow Mortgage Coach, our friend Ryan Hill in RC recently did a video where they kind of mocked up what the future might look like of getting a mortgage from Amazon using Prime, where, you know, I don't know if you saw that video. I'll forward it to you. And by the way, I'll put a link below for anybody who missed it. But, you know, keep in mind that Prime will have a lot of information on you. And so, you know, that application in theory could be a lot less questions if Prime expanded their profile to include, you know, the types of things that you'd need to get a mortgage or the types of things you'd need for financial services. Not only would Amazon have an advantage because they have that voice device, but they have a tremendous amount of data on you, and they've got express consent to do transactions with you. So it is an interesting future, but, you know, Mortgage Coach community, you can kill it for the next 2 years, 5 years. I feel confident that you're in good shape for the decades to come, but you can't do it old school way. You know, you can't continue to be that loan officer that's like, I hate my CRM. I don't use technology. I think that is just going to get to be a tougher and tougher road. Steve, any other thoughts? How far out do you think it is until we'll really see blockchain have impacted the mortgage industry? You know, what is your take on that?
I think people are experimenting with it now, and it's only been around as a technology for 8 years or so. And it's really only in the last few that people have really started thinking about all the different applications beyond cryptocurrencies. You know, I don't think people are going to be buying homes with Bitcoin next year. I mean, it's just not something that is going to be mainstream anytime soon. Where it is interesting is in having immutable documents that makes it easier for transactions to occur. I think that will be happening over the next few years. It's also, the place it will also show up and is already showing up is in commercial real estate. If you look at what companies like Atlant are doing to tokenize real estate and essentially be able to then sell electronic shares, although they're not called shares, they're tokens, in a building. So you can, instead of having to have $20 million to buy a commercial property in a downtown area, now you can put in $1,000 or $50 and have a little tiny share of a giant building in a downtown area. And all of that is run on blockchain and using tokenization of real estate assets. So I think more and more we should be looking at what are the different ways of funding real estate transactions. A mortgage is one of them, in the lower end of the market, in residential. But in commercial, there are these other models emerging. There's nothing to stop them coming down into the residential sector. That could be a thing. You look at what Real Crowd is doing. Real Crowd is here in Portland. They are doing crowdsourcing of real estate investment. So you can go and invest in commercial real estate all over the country and get in together with other investors. Yeah, maybe that's a model that could also fund residential and start to then lease that, rent those properties to people and allow them to buy them over time. So there's all kinds of interesting models that will come about because of blockchain technology. It's very hard to predict how quickly they're going to happen.
Got it. So guys, I'm going to do a couple things. One, I'm going to put a link below because I'm thinking of the types of conversations you need to have with clients. And I recently did an interview with Tim Brahim, and he talked about how he's, not only connecting and delivering value, but he's creating that client for life relationship. So I think that's something you need to be thinking about, that every time you're meeting with a borrower, you're not just conducting a transaction, you're asking questions to build a client for life. You're doing annual reviews so that you really become their trusted liability manager. I mean, as a mortgage professional, you get more information than CPAs get. CPAs are only getting the income side. You're getting more than financial planners. They're only getting the asset side. You're getting assets, income, liabilities. You're getting it all. And you really need to think about how you elevate that conversation so that you are that head of the wealth team. You're the captain of the wealth team. So I'm going to put some scripts down below for you. Steve, anything else come to mind as we wrap this up? Any other words of wisdom for referral-based local lenders and loan officers?
Well, I give the same advice that I give all my clients, which is figure out and amplify your human value, right? There's lots of transactional values that, mortgage brokers are the front end to. That will all get commoditized and mechanized and automated over time. So that what that leaves you with is the human value you provide. People are buying a home. It's the biggest purchase they'll ever make. They need to trust the human being that they're working with. So, double down on that. So think local, think personal, think human, but at the same time, remember that every business is becoming a data business. You said earlier, Dave, that having all of that data allows you to understand your customer better. It may be time to find scale amongst mortgage providers for them to start collaborating to use their data, bring it together, because more data gives you more power. So think local, think human, think service, but also think data and scale and partnerships, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. In fact, I think I'm going to title this interview "Double Down on Your Human Value," because at the end of the day, that is never going away. But I hope everybody realizes to double down on your human value, you need to leverage technology, and I'm seeing a trend of more in-office meetings, but in those in-office meetings, we're using CRM like never before. You're seeing more like to schedule things. You're seeing automation that makes scheduling meetings more efficient, more effective. You're seeing that the goal when meeting with someone in human is not just to connect with them, it's to get them to download your apps and to teach that customer how to interact with you and communicate with you, leveraging your technology platform. So when they leave your office, they've got your Mortgage Coach app downloaded. They know how to get you paid statements and make that transaction easier. So couple last thoughts. Steve, I hope to see you on a few stages here in the mortgage industry. If you are listening to this, if you are a manager or leader, I think you should have this gentleman be a keynote at your next event. We need to get loan officers, leaders, branch managers to understand that they need to take action, and you need to take action now. So Steve, thank you very much. And if anybody wanted to reach out to you, connect with you to hire you as a speaker or a consultant, how would they get to you?
Easiest way, check out my hairdo there at baldfuturist.com. You can email me directly at steve@baldfuturist.com, and I'll respond as quick as I can.
Good, and I'll put a link to that down below. Steve, thank you very much for making time for the Mortgage Coach community.
My pleasure. Nice talking to you, Dave. Have a good afternoon.
All right. You too. Take care.